So let's come onto our backs. Get comfortable, make sure you're warm. Two knees are bent. Let's bend the two knees. We just do some very simple movement to begin with. Two knees are bent. Let's cross the left leg over the right leg, thigh over thigh. Great. Perfect. So you slide your bum a little to the left and you let the two legs begin to drop over toward the right. Now you can pad the legs with cushions. You can put cushions underneath them or bricks or whatever you might need. So you're relatively comfortable in the twisted position. Working with this point of discomfort. It's the magical point that we go to this place that's uncomfortable. And again, it's such a fine line. Because if we push it, if we force it, then we miss the point. But it is about connecting to what is there. And one of the great things about the sympathetic nervous system, one of its mechanisms is to separate us from our own discomfort. It's a numbing, disconnecting apparatus. What happens through these type of practices is we begin to reconnect to some of the discomfort that's there, that we're carrying around. Maybe we're aware of it, maybe we're not aware of it. But we have this opportunity then to begin to meet it in different ways. So the quality of your attention, the quality of your attention is like medicine. The quality of your attention is like medicine. So if you can bring that steadier, spacious awareness toward the discomfort you're feeling in any given position or shape that we might take on, and breathe into it, or imagine you're breathing into it, like maybe you can't literally breathe into your hips or your leg or wherever you might be feeling the tightness, but you're imagining you're breathing into it. And what you're breathing into it is your attention. And your attention is energy. Literally, it's energy. You can measure that with a machine. Wherever your attention goes, the energy follows. So you're bringing this spacious quality, you're bringing the part of you that has already accessed the parasympathetic nervous system into the contracted holding spaces that have been held under the jurisdiction of your sympathetic nervous system. You're breathing into them. You're changing the frequency of those places. Now, as you do it, a myriad of experiences might happen. It might be just you're breathing and you're feeling and you're noticing. Memory might come up. Old feelings might come up. Because all of these areas of holding are like reservoirs. They're holding on to maybe a moment in time or a wound or something we've inherited through our family, our ancestral line. But know that whatever you're experiencing, you're in this process of releasing. This is the beautiful thing about the parasympathetic nervous system. Releases. It trusts. So it doesn't need to hoard or hold. It trusts that we are held. It has no need for possessions, or it knows that it's all fine. Like that's an inherent part of each of us. We completely trust life. We're just not connected to it all the time or aware of it all the time. It's there, always there. It's part of what you are. So you're breathing that into the places that don't trust. And you're kind of saying, it's okay. And then as you meet the places that don't trust, and this maybe is some of the grief that we carry in life, because all of us have these places that are really difficult to bear. But we meet them with tenderness and with kindness. Bring the two knees back to center. Let's keep the left leg on top. Keep the left leg on top, but try the other direction. So move the hips to the right and tilt the knees over toward the left. And the same principle again as when we were breathing, you know, when the discomfort begins to appear, when you begin to notice, oh, that feels a little, you don't need to go further. Just meet what is there. So you can have, because of course if we push too far, if we get too enveloped in the discomforts, its inclination is to take over the show. You know, it's like that moment where you get triggered, your whole system gets enveloped by the discomfort. We want to find the point just before that, where there's still that connection to a steady breath, a more spacious awareness, and we can hold what's arising for us, what's arising in our field, what we're deciding to meet in this moment. Just a few more breaths here. Okay, let's bring the two legs back through center. Uncross the legs. Okay, so just bring everything back to center, 2 feet on the floor. With the 2 feet on the floor, have a little waddle in the pelvis, just a little feel and notice. What's also great in terms of the body, there's a few things here. One is we've worked with one side, so it's just tuning into, oh, can I notice any difference or shift in the two sides? But equally the idea of just meeting ourselves without the need to be discomfort or pain or something there for us to actually pay attention to a different, a part of our body or a part of our lives. And quite often, noise, pain, suffering, discomfort is so, it's loud, isn't it? It's loud to our systems. So it really kind of gets our attention. It's why the news is so popular, the negativity of the news, because it's so loud. So it's like, in some sense, it's titillating. It pulls our attention. But just to feel, almost in a sense, the nothingness, just to feel whatever normal sensation is in the body, to let the attention rest in the body. This is a huge part of a meditation practice. For the body, the normal sensation of the body, to be enough to hold the mind that has become flooded with the need for strong stimulus. This is the predicament of our modern mind. So just to feel. And then whatever comes up, I'm bored, I'm frustrated, all of those stories, I'm tired, they'll all come up with the mind's trickery as to wanting more stimulus. So, right leg over left leg, all the way over. We move the hips a little to the right, we'll drop the legs comfortably to the left. That's it. And again, if the two sides may be different, you might want to put cushions underneath the legs. And then be in what's being shown to you. Be in your experience of your body. The body is an incredible, really in these practices, it's the body that's the teacher. Your body is teaching you. It's speaking a language. And you're teaching your mind how to meet your body. Because the mind has forgotten how to be in the body. That's so much of our suffering, is the mind having disconnected itself from the body. Somehow the mind has gotten into this idea of it knows better. And that's just a habit that we've taken on, we've inherited. So breathe into the body. Feel. And then as you practice, your sensitivity to what's moving through you will increase. In the beginning, it's gross sensation, it moves into subtler experience, and then you're able to begin to decipher the subtler experiences. Actually hear the language that's being spoken to you. Go this way, no, don't go that way, look at this, turn away. All of that is being continually articulated through your body. And as we're opening our receptivity to that deeper quality of information. A few more breaths here. Beautiful. Okay, let's bring the two knees back, keeping the right leg on top, move in the other direction. Okay, bring the two knees back to center again. Uncross, 2 feet on the floor. 2 feet on the floor. Great, okay, and again, just feel. Notice the breath. Okay, so what we're going to do, I want you to try to use a subtle level of effort. I don't want you to overwork or force or strain, just as little effort as you can to feel the work happening in the body. So the idea of spreading the toes and gripping the floor of the mat. So the toes grip. Now, particularly areas of the body that are not used to really working, and the toes they tend not to do as much as they're designed to do. These areas will tend to be a little rougher in terms of their engagement. They tend to be on and off. So as you grip the mat, can you just soften it a little? You still have the grip, but there's a softness to it also. Without moving or changing that, you're pulling your feet towards your hips. So without moving your feet, just a little tug toward the hips. So you feel that engage you through the back of the legs and into the pelvis. Now, as you're sustaining that engagement, can you press the bum into the earth, into the floor, into the mat? And as you're doing that, can you create a deepening of the arch of the lower back? So it'll engage and deepen the arch in the lower back. And obviously, pain is a very clear way in which the body will speak to us if we're going too far in any one direction. So of course, if something is painful, you back off. Listen to the body. Now, can you maintain all of that? We're going to go a little further north. Take some deeper breaths into the ribs. Breathe into the sides of the ribs. Big expanding breaths into the ribs. And as you're feeling the ribs working and expanding and filling, could you shuffle the shoulders a little toward the ears? Just notice the sides of the ribs. The idea of just that upper body lengthening. And this work actually creates separation between the vertebrae, creates space for the discs, opens up the spine. And again, the invitation is do it with sensitivity. So it's not forcing the shoulders up to the ears. It's moving the shoulders to move what's beneath the shoulders all the way down to the waist. And when you feel like, okay, that feels longer, I want you to begin to press the back of the head into the mat. And as you press the back of the head into the mat, again, you can decide on the level of effort. Sustain that, and then slowly begin to tilt your chin away from your chest, so much so that you feel the front of the throat elongate, or we could say open. And of course, the shoulders, the upper back gets a little bit lighter on the floor. So the feet are what we call dig and drag. They're pulling towards you. Bum is pressing down, back of the head pressing down. Now, could you breathe here? Some just long, steady breaths. Just 3 or 4 long, steady breaths. Nice, and let it all soften, let it all soften. Take the arms up, wrap the arms around you, hug yourself. So you've got the hands on the ribs, not on the arms. So you're holding the ribs. Now, of course, as you wrap the arms around you in this way, the upper back, the shoulder blades, they all begin to broaden. And this is what I'm interested in, this space expanding. Similar to the last pose that we did, it was about engaging the back body, what we call the posterior chain. So as you hold the ribs in this way, same thing you did before with the breath, breathe long, deep, expanding breaths into the sides and into the back of the ribs. So you're waking up an area that's traditionally shut down for us in our Western bodies. Again, different cultures will have different propensity in terms of how they inhabit their bodies. But us in the West, being very cerebral, logical, rational, empirical, we tend to be, our awareness accumulates in our head, disconnects from our bodies. And then we use the smaller part, which is the front body, to get us from A to B. Because the rational mind is continuously saying, well, what you see is what there is. There is no other thing. So the front body is what you see, the back is what you don't see. So we don't inhabit it, we don't believe in it. Let everything relax. Let the arms relax. Okay. Same thing again with the feet engaging, toes grip, you pull the feet towards you, you press the bum down. Take some deeper breaths, maybe a little shrugging in the shoulders, just exploring. Take the left hand to the back of the neck, cup the back of the neck with the left hand. Take the right hand to the front of the throat. So you're just gently cupping the neck just to feel what's going to happen as we're engaging. Now, as you're taking those deep breaths, can you bring the 2 elbows closer together and notice the shoulder blades widening apart? So you're just facilitating realigning the body to support the greatest opening that we can afford. Okay. Begin to press the back of the neck, begin to press the back of the head into the earth. Notice what happens to the back of the neck. Slowly begin to tilt the chin away from the chest to, again, open the front of the throat. Notice as you're breathing into the upper body, it gets a little lighter as the head, the bum, and the feet are doing most of the work. Even with the feet, keep the toes gripping, but lift the heels slightly off the floor. For 5, stay with it, long, steady breath. For 4, 3, 2, and then soften it all again. Release the arms. So when you work into these positions that are a bit challenging, and you work with the breath in this way and steady the breath, this again is a way in which we begin to shift the chemoreceptors, in which we begin to work with the habits of our nervous system and change them. Okay. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Left ankle over your right thigh. And we'll move the hips over to the left. Even the foot on the floor, the right foot can move a little to the left. And then we're just going to drop the legs slowly over toward the right. Now, the left foot might go all the way down to the floor. It might stop somewhere before that. Either is fine. Wherever you are is wherever you are. Okay. If it's accessible, your right hand will hold your left ankle. But if it's too much of a stretch, don't worry about it. It's unimportant. Just gives your right hand something to do. The game is wherever your left foot is, the sole of the foot is either on the floor or facing the floor. So you're not tilting it. It's not a little bit of it. Either all of it is on the floor or all of it is facing the floor. It's horizontal. And from here, without moving the left foot, your left knee, which is more or less pointing upward toward the ceiling, begins to tilt away from you. And you'll notice quite quickly, it's going to draw you into some of the tension in that left hip. And as you get there, breathe. Breathe. You just stay with it. Give it time. Give yourself time. As if you could breathe right into the holding. Few more breaths here. Okay, so just stay in the position you're in, but soften. And as you soften, let that left knee just drop a little towards you. You can let go of the ankle or the foot if you're holding it. And then can you extend your left foot over to the right? So you'll lift it off the floor if it's there. Just extend it over to the right. And then just bending and extending. So just pivoting at the knee. Bending and extending. Couple more of these. Now extend, even pointing the toes. Okay, now the right hand, can you put it on the front of your left thigh, quite close to your hip, so top of the thigh, and just press the top of the thigh away a little. Just a little bit of pressure. You might notice that around the left hip or the back of the left hip. And then wherever you're noticing any tension, breathe into it again. Breathe into it. Nice. And then let the right arm relax, bend the left knee, bring it all the way back. Let's come back through center, 2 feet on the floor, hips back to center. And again, we just pause for a few moments and feel. Feel what's moving through the body. Okay. Right ankle over the left thigh. And we move everything over to the hip and the foot over to the right, and we'll begin to drop the legs over to the left. And again, you might be holding the right ankle with your left hand, you might not be. Either's fine. And you might not need to actively tilt the knee away. It might already be tight. So again, it's just about accessing what we could call the first layers of holding. We try to rush into the deepest part. Its habit is to overwhelm us. Like the sympathetic nervous system is designed in that way. So we need to be smart and intelligent about how we move into what's uncomfortable, how we work with it, how we use it to actually grow. So take your time. Breathe into what you're meeting. Few more breaths here. Okay, so stay there, but just let things relax. Release the hand. The right knee can drop a little towards you. Make it simple. And then extending the right foot over to the left. And then just pivoting the lower leg. So bending the knee and extending and bending and extending. Bending and extending. Perfect. Then extend, point the toes. Let's use the left hand on the front of the right thigh. So you give me a little bit of pressure, just pressing the thigh away. You'll notice it in the back of the hip. So this is around the sacroiliac area. Just begin to create a little bit of space. As if you could breathe right into that. Few more breaths. Perfect. Then release and we'll come all the way back. 2 feet on the floor. Back to center. And get still. Reconnect to the breath. Observe what's moving through you. It's like this quality of benevolent observation, benevolent witnessing. Really tapping into our capacity to just allow. We're really softening those places that just grip and control and struggle. We can let them go. So we're going to roll over to the right side. Now you might want a cushion or a few cushions here. We roll over to the side. You might want a cushion or a brick or something for your head. And then you might also want to put something between your knees and even between your feet, if you have it handy. You don't need it between the legs, but it can be nice. So again, the tendency, or often what happens with a lot of these poses, is we push a little too far. And actually, less is more with a lot of these in terms of the body. So if you can imagine when we were on our back and we were working with the feet and pressing the bum down and the back of the head, that was creating a particular curvature through the spine. It was an engagement of the posterior chain. It was supporting that double S shape in the spine. We want to see, can we access that shape on our side here? So first, the 2 feet are stacked. Bring the feet a little further forward so they're under the knees as opposed to back toward the bum. So you're just think of a right angle at the back of the legs. And the same action the feet did when they were on the floor, where the toes, imagine they're gripping the wall and pull backwards. And as you engage that, you'll feel the work happening through the legs and into the pelvis. And you suddenly have this ability to move the hips a little, to stick the bum out a little, and to feel the arch in the lower back get a little deeper. So just working into that. Again, never to the point where you're straining or you're forcing. The more you do it, the more the easier it becomes. The easier it becomes. The body will kind of flow in this way more and more easily. The habit will build. Okay, and then the space between the hips and the shoulders, similar work to we did earlier. You just lift the head and the bottom shoulder, just kind of shrug it up toward the ear. You're just lengthening it against the floor. Okay. Now, 2 hands are out in front of the heart, 1 hand resting gently or heavily on top of the other hand, so they're just relaxing onto the floor. Fingers are pointing away. Hands are in that traditional prayer position. Very simple in terms of the movement. The hips and the legs don't move. So if they're moving, you've gone too far. You slide your top hand forward along the floor to wherever it goes to. You just stretch it forward. You notice again that's a broadening of the upper back. Slowly, I want you to go slow motion. As you begin to lift the top hand, arm upward, the head is moving at exactly the same pace. So the head is moving with the arm. One movement, one movement, one movement, one movement. Now pause when you get just past up, just past straight up. Notice if the top hip is sunk backwards, and if it has, can you bring it back? Okay. Now we'll see how much further we can go, but it's not how far the arm can go, it's how far the head can go without straining anything. And when you feel like your head isn't going to move anymore, your arm has to listen and pause. And I want you just to breathe, take some breaths, into whatever tightness is here now. Breathe into that. Perfect. And then slowly bring it all the way back again. Okay? So we'll just do 3 more of these. When the 2 hands reconnect, like we did in all the other poses, just take a moment to melt. So the parts of the bits in between are as, if not more important than the actual movement itself. Breathe and move. Slide the hand forward, float the arm up, move at your own pace. Stay connected and aware of the breath as you're moving. Don't let the top hip move. When you move to your fullest expression, even though the arm knows it can go further, but we're interested in integrated movement, integrated different parts of the body, integrated head and body, integrated, gross, subtle, energetic, all these different parts. Finding harmony, finding balance, symmetry. Breathe here. And again, we'll begin to come back. Take your time. So you pause when you finish, and you pause at the top of the pose. So four on each side. Breathe right into the tightness. So when you finish the fourth one on that side, we'll move to the other side. And take your time in terms of feeling into the body. This is really actually where the mind becomes an incredibly important tool, because it allows us to really begin to discern, to tune in, to feel, and working with our body in a way in which we're acknowledging that we're kind of remedial in how we inhabit our bodies. We're really learning about the capacity, the depth, what our body needs, how our body wishes to be inhabited, what it has to offer us, what it's holding for us. So take your time. Let the breath lead the way. So take as long as you need. And when you finish the fourth on this side, we're going to come onto the hands and knees for a little bit. So take as long as you need. And then on your hands and knees, when you get there, really simple, just close the eyes and just move a little. Move and feel. That's it. Move the head too. Don't forget about the head. Just to feel the body. Sway the hips, shrug the shoulders. Almost like you're dancing on your hands and knees. Spread the fingers, feel the hands. We worked with the feet earlier. Similar with the hands, grip with the fingertips and the thumb tips. Press down through the base of the fingers. Those knuckles and the palms, push down through those guys. Pull the hands toward each other. Feel that tone, that resistance. Press the earth away, lift the neck. Pull the hands toward you. Without moving the hands, we did this with the feet too. If you pull the hands toward the knees, notice how it taps you into kind of a stretch through the abdomen. Breathe into that tightness. If anything gets tight around the lower back, breathe into that. Remember to work with sensitivity, with care, with kindness. Kindness can at times be steady, can be strong. Come back through center. Now without moving, push your knees away from each other. So you feel that sense of widening in the pelvis. Take a deep expanding breath into the rib cage, like you're filling up a balloon. So the ribs expanding. We're not dropping the head down, the neck is lifted, the throat is open. Without moving the legs or the hips, we're going to walk the arms to the right. We're going to begin to arc to the right. So you have this stretch through the left side of the body. But you'll also notice the right waist will tend to contract and tighten. And wherever the most intense experience is where the attention moves to, that spacious awareness that we spoke of earlier. Breathing that quality of spaciousness. When we're disconnected from Source, or we believe we're disconnected from Source, or we don't have a sense of that foundation, that real foundation, we work too hard. We just grip. And whether we're aware of it or not, when we have, for whatever reason, created the illusion that we're separate from Spirit or God or the universe or life, or it creates a terror in our system that keeps us feeding the sympathetic nervous system, that overworks that protective. It becomes a pathology in our system then. So you're breathing that trust back into these places. Come back through center. When you get back to the middle, take a few moments just to sway and feel and notice. Deep breath, lower back belly soft, neck lifted, throat open, press the knees apart. Walk the arms in the other direction. Breathe in to what you're meeting. Take your time, just breathing into it. And then let's come back to center again and come all the way down onto our forearms, interlacing the fingers, and we'll keep the elbows underneath the shoulders. Just be careful that you don't sink with the head. The head is pretty heavy, and the neck is so used to being out of alignment, which of course means the neck, certain areas of the neck are used to overworking. Same principle, same idea. And in fact, the way in which most of us end up inhabiting our bodies or aligning our bodies is very indicative of that part of us that has, taken on this illusion of disconnection, separateness from our source. A source that, of course, we can never be separate from. But we can believe we are. Press the forearms down, just noticing that broadening of the upper back as you do that again. Now, as you press the forearms down, I want the lifting quality through the body to include the neck and the head. So it's kind of one movement of the upper body. Let the belly and lower back relax if you can. Without moving, push the knees away from each other. Without moving, pull the elbows toward the knees. And if any one area speaks out, you might need to soften or breathe into that space. I want you to find a level of effort you can sustain, breathing into the tightness. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then softening, 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 softening. Just breathe, let things sway a little. We're going to come back onto our hands and we're going to sit. And you might want to sit up in a chair, or you might want to sit on something on your yoga mat. You can choose what works for you. So get into as comfortable a seated position as you can. Okay. So if we're sitting in whatever position you're in fact, we're going to bring the weight over to the left side, so the left hip is anchored down, and there's a little rise in the right side. So we can, on the right leg, we bring one hand to the inner thigh, one hand we slide underneath the bum. We tone the leg underneath, or the leg we're holding. We twist the inner thigh down and we pull the buttock upward. Twist the inner thigh down, pull the buttock upward, and then bring that leg back down. And before you do anything else, just release, close the eyes and feel. So the head of the femur bone in that acetabula, in that hip socket, drops. We do the same on the other side. So we're leaning over to the right, we're holding the left leg, inner thigh, and we're trying to find the glute. Engage, turn the inner thigh down, pull the buttock up, just widening our foundation, and then release. Close the eyes. So go to the part of your glutes, the base of the glutes that are connected to the whatever you're sitting on. And if you had the capacity to slide that part backwards, if you could stick your bum out a little. Same thing we did when we were on our backs, on our hands and knees, on our sides. Now, again, if you go too far, your body will tell you. So if something gets tight, you need to breathe into the tightness. Okay, open the eyes for a moment. Take the hands to the sides of the ribs with the fingers at the front and the thumbs at the back. You're on the ribs, on the lower ribs. And then just even close the eyes for a moment. A few deeper breaths. And I want you to feel the ribs moving in a way that's even on all sides. Now, the tendency for most of us is the ribs are quite tight. And when they're tight, they become dense, and when they're dense, they become heavy. So they compact the lower back. But when you fill your ribs up, when you breathe out into the hands, even lift the ribs, pull one side, pull the other side. So you're manually decompressing. And it's about training the body, teaching it what it's actually designed to do. Your body is designed to maintain more space and more freedom. But of course, if we're working with programs that are about this illusion of being disconnected, the body is going to obviously have a habit of protection. So we're softening and shifting and changing all of that. Now release the hands onto the thighs. We'll let the index finger and thumb connect and just rest the hands. You can choose which is more comfortable, to turn the palms down or to turn the palms up. Let the belly relax. Let your jaw relax. And if for any reason you need to move, if it's too uncomfortable, you just move. This is absolutely not about suffering. The same idea as we worked with in all those other positions and poses. And it is a play though, because obviously sitting like this, and maybe you're feeling it already, is a little uncomfortable. And it will probably become comfortable. You might get pins and needles, your leg might go dead. If it becomes too much, too uncomfortable, you move. It's not serving you. But if you're able to maintain some quality of spaciousness around it, kind of acknowledge it, there it is, but it's okay. That's what you're playing at. And we're at whatever you need to do, wherever you're at, is where you're at, and that's perfect. Notice your breath. If you can, you're breathing through your nose. Just the natural breath. Now, without moving, bring your attention down to your feet. As if you could feel the feet from the inside. And then also the legs. And can you stay aware of the feet and the legs, and also then include the hands? And the arms. So you're aware of your breath, feet, legs, hands, arms. Could you include the hips? Mid-region of your torso, belly, lower back, lower ribs. Breath, arms, legs, hips. And the upper part of your torso. Chest, upper back, shoulders. And then could you include the neck and your head? And then just slowly begin to deepen your breath. Sometimes, if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but in this place beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing now and to stop what you were becoming while you do it. Questions that can make or unmake a life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away. Feel your hips, what they're sitting on. Feel the length of your spine. Sit in a way that feels comfortable and dignified. Allow your belly, your jaw to soften. All of the work that we've done supporting a redistribution, a rebalancing, a homeostasis. Re-inhabiting places that have been cut off or blocked. Becoming more inclusive within ourselves. Meeting ourselves. Meeting ourselves as we are. To this we bring our hands together in front of the heart. This is the center of our being. The space in the middle between our physical, earthly experience and our divine nature, where the two intersect. And as we begin to open and see and balance, it opens us to this space of the heart, the power of this space. To reside to connect to this space. This is the place that we start from, and this is the place that we return to. And really this is the place that we never leave. To ourselves and to each other, we bow. Namaste. Good work, well done.